Campbell here, your online systemic leadership mentor. In this video, I will be sharing with you about step number 4 in the systemic change leadership journey. You will learn how change communication is different from regular communication, why telltale style communication actually sets you back in your tracks, and what a systemic approach to communication looks like and how it can help you with your change leadership success. Now, change communication is something that many leaders are actually not very good at. Mostly it's not their fault, and this has to do with the fact that change communication is not very high on the agenda in general, and specifically also not in business schools where leaders learn about their leadership in their organizations. Now, I've spent a tremendous portion of my work with leaders in helping them achieve change success through effective change communication. Regardless of their organization's industry, their size, or change shape or type, I have supported them in seriously upgrading their change communication baseline. Now, part of the systemic change communication in this step, I've also included my learning from Systemic Leadership Summit speakers such as Amy Mandel, Jim Kouzes, and Ella Saltmarsh. First of all, I would like to share a few common misconceptions about change communication that prevent leaders from leveraging this highly effective step towards change leadership success. Here they are. Myth number 1. We as leaders are the senders. They, our employees, are the receivers. Myth number 2. People immediately get what we want to say. Number 3. Telling people only the minimum necessary works best because we don't want to stir up resistance, so we leave out the hard or difficult bits. Myth number 4. We just need a great vision and repeat that over and over and over again. Myth number 5. Selling the change leads to behavior change. Number 6. Communication can be outsourced or postponed till after we've started implementing the change. And myth number 7, change communication is like normal day-to-day communication. Now, every leader has one or more of these myths happening in their organization. And so I want to share with you 7 crucial steps in a systemic approach to change communication that you can use to say goodbye to all these myths. Now, step number 1 is that you need to understand that change communication is not the sending of information. It needs to be shaped in a 2-way or even multi-way street, so not a one-way street. Everyone in your organizational system will want to make sense of what you're saying, and they will want to translate it to their own situation. Now, this is a process that needs to be guided. Also, your organization holds wisdom that you do not always have access to. Now, this means that it needs to emerge for you also. So for a change message to make it through your organizational inner borders and to be successful, you need to allow this process to happen. So next time you want to announce a change, don't just send out an email or deliver a broadcast. You know your organizational system and really understand the impact of the change on your organization. And listen to the feedback that you receive and incorporate that in your communication. Step number 2 is understand that people will not immediately get what you want to say. Now, this is the case simply because you have a different role and perspective. From a leadership role, you have gone through an entire decision-making process before announcing the change. You've been able to look at the problem from different perspectives. You have chosen the solution that fits for your organization, and people need to catch up with you and close the gap by really listening and integrating what you're communicating. And this meaning-making process really takes time. So if you want everyone to be part of the solution, then let them understand the problem you're trying to solve and discuss the solution you want to implement. Step number 3 is to make sure that you provide people with a bigger context of the change so that they understand why we're changing. Leaving out the hard bits will not help. You're communicating with adults, so most of them will feel it when you're leaving things out or when you're twisting reality because you're afraid of their resistance. So the better stance is to welcome different responses and opinions and see how this informs you about an impact of the change that you may have overlooked or undervalued. Step number 4 is to use diversity in your communication. Really cater for different groups and use a mix of communication channels. So don't repeat a vision over and over without translating it to different target groups, and maybe even use different words or different examples. In people's minds, the over and over repetition will just become, quote unquote, the story management wants us to hear. And what will happen is they will process it in a way that most of us process commercials. Now, commercials are effective in their own right, but if you want a collective to hear your change message, you need to communicate it in different ways to prevent it from ending up in their mental spam folder. Step number 5, selling change does not lead to behavior change. Now, let me repeat that. Selling change does not lead to behavior change. It merely leaves people annoyed with the message and the messenger. We don't want to be sold to, and so it doesn't lead to change, because knowing something, even if people grasp the content of the sales pitch, it does not lead to behavior change. So if knowing what healthy food is and that you're supposed to eat it, if that would lead to behavior change, wouldn't we all do it? Now, change communication is about guiding people to understand the urgency of the change and what's in it for them. Their inner decision whether to embrace a change or not is really the tipping point. Now, once that decision is made, proper training, coaching, and support leads people to actually change their behavior. We're at step number 6, and this one is about always take responsibility for shaping change communication. Now, the timely visibility and impact of senior management with their communication is one of the most powerful and effective ways of communicating change. So, as a leader, you need to engage from the very start of the change and see through it with your change communication during the change process. Show leadership in your communication as a leadership team, and do not outsource 100% of your messaging, for example, to the communications or marketing department. They are there to consult you and advise you, but you have a key role. Lastly, step number 7, and that one is about change communication is not about sharing information. Change communication is a way of interacting with your employees, and that impacts their heads, their hearts, and it enables them to make meaning of things in their jobs and beyond their jobs. It's about leading by example, and it's about ensuring that there is enough support for people to make the change in their jobs at their level in the organization. Now, having said all that, shaping change communication and doing it this systemic way is only a small part of an effective systemic change leadership strategy. Now, the systemic change leadership journey is the framework that we use to help visionary leaders increase their complex leadership success by 50% in terms of ROI within as little as 3 months. So they have a massive impact and take their organization from surviving to thriving without wasting a lot of time, money, and energy on one-size-fits-all change management and leadership methods that just don't work. And so, if you want to get crystal clear on the one thing that you should be doing right now in terms of your change communication in your organization, or if you want to learn more about the systemic change leadership journey, then book a complimentary call with me. You can do so by clicking the link below. Now, during this call, we'll be looking at your organization and the change communication as you're shaping it now. Then we'll go through this step as well as zoom out to the full systemic change leadership journey. And at the end of this call, you will have your most important steps in the journey in your pocket. Thank you so much for watching. Take care. Bye-bye.